everyone, welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. I am Bonnie Krebs, creator of Watercolor the Art Impressions Way, and this week we're doing another Christmas project. I just love these little Christmas projects. Last week we had a project that was a little detailed, took a little bit longer than normal, so we are going back to quick and easy again this time. So we're going to put this little Christmas tree in this wagon, add a few little foliages here, some little hollies with berries, and we can be done with this in just a few minutes. Okay, so let's get going. We're going to need a few things. So in the wagon set, we're going to use the wagon, this one right here. In the covered bridge set, we're going to use this tree, this one right here. In the branches set, we're going to use this little guy, this one right here. And then in the new foliage set, so the little tiny foliage here and the pine bough, this one right here. And then one of the little birds, and you can use any of these little birds in this set. So we're going to use this one right here. Okay, so let's get going. We're going to start out by inking that little wagon, and we're going to ink it in two colors. So this time we're going to use the number 29 Prussian blue. So we're going to ink that one first. This is going to give us a really nice teal color. And we're doing a little warmer sky. Normally when we're doing snow, we use the number 86, but we're doing kind of an afternoon sky, so really bright sky and just kind of a different look. So once we got the Prussian blue on there, we're going to add the sepia to it. So Prussian blue first and then sepia after that. And then we're going to stamp it in the middle of our paper. So right about here is good. That looks perfect. And then we're going to start out by pulling the color out of the lines. So that's always our first step. Something comforting about always knowing what comes first. And this is always the first step. Stamp that basic image and pull the color out of the lines. So just like this. Remember, the top of your image should always have a highlight on it. So you never want to ink all the way to the top. And that applies to these little wheels too. So when you're pulling the color out of these little wheels, make sure that you leave the very top with a highlight on there. You're always going to be happier with it if you do that. It's just going to make things look a lot more three-dimensional. And that's what we're trying to do. So even the top of this little mechanism here on the wagon, we're going to kind of leave that as well. Okay, so let's add a little color to this. So we're going to add some of the sepia now to the wheels. And we're going to take a little of this color. And we're just going to brush on a little of this color in here. So again, leave the top of that wheel with a highlight on it. That's so important to do that. And it's just one of those things that you just kind of have to remind yourself to do. But you're going to be so much happier with it if you do that, because it's going to make things look way, way more three-dimensional. And you can see how that kind of rounds that wheel out a little bit anyway. Just already you can see that. And then these little axles in here, we want to make sure we get those really dark. And we are about finished with our little wagon. I would actually go in here now and really darken these little bolts here. Just really make those dark, and even add a little more color back in here underneath here. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and get our tree in here. So I'm going to use a Post-it note now and just cover the wagon. So just like that, and leave a little tiny bit so you can see where your parameters are here. I can see a little bit through my Post-it note, but I want to leave a little bit up here just so that I can get my bearings and see where I'm stamping that tree. So I'm going to ink the tree now in two colors. So we want to do a little Christmas tree, and we're going to use the pine green, but the pine green is a little too light, so we're going to add some color to the background of it. So that's the 86 African Violet. So we're going to ink this up first with the 86. And then we're going to come over the top now with that pine green. So this is the number 72 pine green. And that's going to give us a lot more depth in the color. So we're going to kind of lay this into the wagon. So you don't have to be precise about this. You're just going to stamp it in there one time. And then you can remove your paper. And it doesn't matter how you stamp this in here because you can always add more pine boughs as you're coming out of the wagon. So let's go ahead and add those in now. So here's that little pine bough. And we're going to kind of start at the top. And we're kind of leaning this tree over. So it's kind of sitting in the wagon, but it's kind of laying in here. So we want to be sure and kind of show that. And a few more in here. And we could kind of, you know, hang one down over the side as well. And maybe let's just put another one in here like that. And maybe let's just really extend this little tree out over the top. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's go on to the next step. And we're going to add some snow now underneath, and we're going to add some sky color in. So let's just add some color to our palette. And we're going to use those two colors that we used before. So we're just going to add a little Prussian blue now to our sepia. And we're just going to kind of mix this up a little bit. Because we're kind of getting a little mix of color. So we're kind of creating a little shadow underneath here. So just make it light, very light. And then let's add a little snow in here. Just kind of where the wheels are, in here like this. Don't overthink this too much. And then let's just put a little snowy bank kind of in the background. So just like that. And we can come back in here and add a little darker color too if we want to. So you can really see that shadow underneath there. So let's go ahead and put the sky in. And we're going to use the number 100. So this is the sapphire. And we're going to use this really bright blue sky. And we're just going to ink this in all around here. And you can see I left a little white space on the top of the wagon so we can kind of see inside. It kind of shows the back side of the wagon when you do that. And I'm just going to bring this sky all the way down to this little snowy bank here. And I'm not going up and over the tree because I'm going to put a little bird on here, and so I don't want that sky to surround the whole tree. So let's just get this in here, and we are going to be ready to go on to the next step. Okay, that looks good. So let's go ahead and add water now to the tree. And these are tiny little lines, so be very careful with how much water that you add and really kind of jump your brush around. So you don't want to lose the detail of these pine boughs. And you can see that the color from the tree, so the branches, is coming through now to the pine boughs. So we're getting a really nice mix of color in here. This is adding a lot more dimension to this tree. So just kind of dab. That looks pretty good. We can add a little more color to our wagon too. The darker color, you know, stays on the side. So as you drag this color over, it's going to get lighter and lighter. Okay, that looks good. So let's go ahead to the next step, and that's to put our little holly in. So we're going to use that, that pine green, and we're going to ink this little branch. And we're just going to kind of stamp it a couple of times right here, kind of right by the little wagon wheel. And then again, kind of in the background. So we're not inking the whole thing this time. So just right here to kind of where the V is. And we'll just put another one kind of out here, a little bit more in the background. So let's go ahead and add the little foliage to it. So this is that tiny, tiny little leaf. And you just want to get this in here a few times. Oops, lost my little guy off my block. These little tiny ones, normally what I do is glue them to the block so that I don't lose them. That would just be a disaster if you lost this little stamp because it's in so many things. I just love it. So now dip your brush and pinch it off. And let's just soften these little leaves. These two are so tiny, so you just use the tip of your brush and just very carefully add water to these. Don't do much to the stem. You don't have to do anything at all to the stem. And then we can add some little berries to it. So I'm using the fine tip now of the number 89, so this is persimmon. And it's just easier to put these in by hand. And I usually put them into little groups of 3 or 4. But you can put as many of these in as you want to. I just love this bright red color. This is really Christmas red. And you can just put them everywhere. Just makes it look really, really Christmassy. Okay, that looks good. So let's get our little bird in here. And we're going to use a positioner because we want to make sure that we get this little bird in the right place. So let's use our positioner with the little shield. So we're going to place that shield into the corner and ink this little bird with sepia. And use a really light touch when you're stamping this little guy. We don't want the lines to be too dark. So let's just put him, how about right there? And then place this back in the corner. And we've got our little guy on there. So we're gonna really darken his eye. That's always the first step. And his little beak, because we really want to see those details. And then very carefully dip your brush and just pull this color out of the lines, just carefully. You don't need a lot of color with this, and you know, it's so easy to overdo it. So let's just add a little color to him. A little of this blue, so cute. That looks good. So I would for sure put some glitter in here. This is the Wink of Stella, so the clear. And I know it's hard to see on the video, but you can at least see how this blends the color. It really, really does make a difference. It really kind of saturates that color and just blends everything together. And it adds a really, really nice sparkle. Just so cute. And when you're doing these snowy pictures, you just got to have some glitter on them. It's going to just make that snow just pop out. You can add a little bit to this guy too. And we are almost finished. Let's add a little snow to the background. So we're going to do that with the Signo. This is a little pigment ink pen. So this is white, and we can add a little snow in here. Just a few little dots. Again, the snow just makes such a difference when you add these in here. And you can add as much of this as you want to. Just keep putting it on, little dots. It really, really shows up in those darker areas. And just get it everywhere. Okay. It looks pretty good. We are about finished with another little watercolor painting. These are so fun to add to a card, and really you can make them so quickly. You can stamp them and add water to them later. And they make just the nicest personalized card for that special person that you want to do something special for. So fun. Be sure to sign and date. That is a must. And put that on a card or a frame and you are going to make someone's day. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and I will see you all next week.